rally in BeamNG is fascinating. At first glance, it feels like a tough but rewarding way to play. The developers made sure everything, including the routes, the obstacles, and even the cars, behaves as close to real life as possible. Whether it's tight mixed surfaces, rough muddy terrain, or cars that can take an incredible amount of punishment, the experience stays grounded in realism. It's been almost a year since rally mode was introduced, and speedrunners have done everything in their power to break it. Some routes fell to clever skips, others required pure persistence. But one thing connects all of them: a realistic approach. Tricks that work in real life are guaranteed to work here too. In many cases, they are required to score high. One stage in particular stands out: Clyde Peak, with hairpins, ice, and FCV Vivas. This is a story of how speedrunners pushed it to the limit using real-life strategies. But before getting wheels on the road, let's answer one deceptively hard question. How realistic is BeamNG? The game presents itself as a physics simulator, and in many ways it delivers. The formation is handled almost flawlessly. But it doesn't stop there. BeamNG offers a surprisingly deep and technical driving experience. While it's true, not everything is being simulated. There are still no tire wear and no effects from cold oil, but everything that is simulated is done exceptionally well. After a quick chat with two professional sim racers, this is what they had to say. It feels very different from other sims out there. It lacks a lot of refinement, but it's very fun anyway. Realism-wise, racing in BeamNG is not too far off real life, but not the most realistic, especially compared to the actual racing sims.
To the line, Eric Neath is gonna win here at Circuit of the Americas.
I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely up there in terms of the risk-reward driving experience. When you are going fast, it feels like you are threading the eye of a needle, and then one mistake is enough to send you into the great beyond. Now, back to rally. This is where all that realism comes together, from highly detailed suspension and aerodynamics to tire pressure and surface conditions affecting every move of the car. Even before the official rally mode was introduced, players were already doing hundreds of attempts and creating some unreal runs. But why? This question is easily answered. There are no rules, only checkpoints and the clock. Since you could reset as much as you want, all BeamNG rally became more of a Group B rally. Just even more extreme. Especially when we look at time trials with highly tuned cars, where 160 km off-road is an entry speed to compete. That's on top of possibly several minutes of focus, using every trick in the book to save milliseconds and skips. All of this, when combined with realistic physics, means that one mistake is all it takes to fail an otherwise perfect run. The new rally mode brought with it several new stages, but even more importantly, preset cars. After years of driving literal frames on wheels in time trials and having only a few rally missions available, this was a breath of fresh air for speedrunners. These new routes had two big upsides. The first one is tuning, or rather, the absence of this feature. With preset cars, anyone could jump in and try their skill and luck. The other upside scratched the itch of perfection. When you are driving something unreasonably powerful, routes blur together. You are trying to survive first and think later. But with 300 horsepower default setups, routes became a true skill challenge, where one corner could be the difference between a world record and a complete fail. And among 8 new routes, one stood out like no other. Special stage Clyde Peak. Even on the surface it looks difficult. It's an uphill drive that can be split into two distinct parts: regular tarmac and ice. The first half of this rally stage greets any player with 5 difficult hairpins, and after that, the 6th. This one is filled with ice. After that, until the end, the second half is a constant fight for control, especially on the white corner right before the finish. This is one of the more popular rally courses, with tons of players fighting for the top spot, both on the leaderboards and just for fun. And while I'm going to break down how this stage was crushed, I'll also show runs from several key players. Each of them pulled off exceptional times using completely different strategies. And not all of those runs even made it onto the leaderboards. Among them, Krasny, a Scottish player who currently holds 4 rally world records. Puria, sitting at top 2 on this very stage. Haiku, one of the first runners to introduce many of the small time saving tricks used here today. And finally, WW Martin, whose run exists only on YouTube, but still stands as the technical world record. With that out of the way, let's begin. The start is fairly simple, almost a straight line leading into a wide right-hand corner. It can be taken at nearly full speed, but there is a problem. The default FCBV setup has a nasty tendency to understeer. To deal with this, speedrunners use one of the more basic techniques, a brief lift of the throttle. That 1 to 2 second release shifts the weight forward, giving the front tires more grip and helping the car settle before the turn. Without it, you either have to slow down significantly or, in many cases, restart. Release for a second might sound easy, but even the best players miss the window for perfect entry quite frequently. Up next are 5 normal hairpins, and they all follow the same idea. You want to brake late and take a very wide exit. Just be mindful of what's coming next. This is an extremely important rule to follow, and I will explain why in a sec. Firstly, let's take a closer look at these corners. Each of the 6 hairpins on this route and the straights between them has gutters. Gutter runs are a well-known technique in rally. In Group B, drivers would sometimes use dirt ditches to help rotate the car. But the most famous example probably comes from Initial D. And while those gutters are vastly different from what we have here on the automation test track, the idea stays the same. By dropping one wheel into them, you can drive like on rails and successfully clear a hairpin without losing much speed. But that's easier said than done. Gutters on the automation test track require a specific approach to be useful. You must go into them at as much of an angle as possible and use them to simply redirect your car. Going too fast or miss them and the run is basically over. Sadly, on the very first hairpin, the gutter is useless. It runs along the outside and offers no real advantage, especially after going full speed beforehand. It's on the second one where the gutter sees its first real use, and with it, a real risk of failure. To make matters worse, this one has an additional obstacle. The gutter doesn't run through the entire corner. It cuts off halfway where the railing begins. The third hairpin follows a similar idea, but without the railing. Instead, the gutter simply ends, opening the way for a wide exit. Keep in mind that this is tarmac, which means the car has a rather incredible grip. In some cases, using gutters can be slower, like on 4th and 5th hairpins. In the first case, the corner is much wider, and using the gutter for rotation can do more harm than good. The same goes for the next corner, with the additional problem of the gutter being rather short. But in both cases, tarmac provides just enough grip for almost smooth turns at pretty high speeds. The sections between hairpins are fairly simple. Some are just a straight line, while others, like between 2nd, 3rd and 4th, 5th hairpins, have a tricky chicane. This should be taken as straight as possible, avoid the apexes and try to not hit the railing. This is the easier half of this rally stage, and it's already very optimized. If we compare some of the best runners, the time difference between them at this point is only several tenths. Final time, however, can be different by more than 2 seconds. But now it's time for long-anticipated ice. Believe it or not, this is the only place in the original unmodded BeamNG where you can encounter this surface. There is grass, dirt and even wet tarmac, but road covered in ice only here. While in the previous section gutters were more of a situational tool, here they become essential if you wish to go fast. Let's take a closer look at the final hairpin. At the halfway point between the 5th and 6th hairpins, the road becomes icy. Luckily for the runners, it starts only on the outside, which makes the inside line and the following entry into the gutter relatively manageable. Still, the same problems apply. Going too fast or miss the gutter entirely and you are either heading straight into the rocks or sliding into the mountain side. But if everything is done right, this tricky hairpin becomes somewhat easy. Until the X, due to the gutter going quite far, it's nearly impossible to instantly get back on the road. Instead, you will be faced with several seconds of rough off-road. While not a problem on its own, the hairpin is shortly followed by a rather sharp left turn, which again demands precision. This is almost pure ice. The approach is simple in theory. Avoid the middle of the road and stay closer to the edges. It's not the ideal racing line, but it helps reduce wheel spin and maintain control. At the same time, you want to reach the next gutter as quickly and as cleanly as possible. There is technically a second, much easier way to clear that nasty corner. Wall ride. By not going across the road and instead focusing on the ideal path into the curve of the railing, it is possible, at least in theory, to ignore the corner completely. But this is very problematic. It can easily damage the Vivas and at the same time offers terrible line into the next corner. And as of yet, nobody is using it in their runs. Once it's done, only two real obstacles remain. Both are extremely tricky. Here there are two wide corners with the roads fully covered in ice. The first one is pretty easy to understand, and there is also a ditch that can be used to help with middle section. This turn has two rules. You can't simply coast through it and go heavy throttle. In the first case, the car will drift too wide, and in the second, it will spin instantly. But at the same time, you need to keep at least some throttle going, which, while it seems counterintuitive, helps a ton with ice. The same can be said about the last corner, with one additional note. This is a wide, downhill, icy corner leading straight into another turn. This creates one big problem. How do you keep enough grip to transition into the next corner without losing speed or crashing into the hillside? Over time, runners came up with three different solutions. The first one is the easiest to understand. Take the corner with a controlled slide at around 20-30% throttle. This keeps the car stable and gives you just enough grip to set up for the next turn, often cutting part of it by going slightly off-road. The second one is slower, but much easier to execute. There is a slight line of clear road that can be used for additional grip. But this trick has one big downside. It doesn't allow for a clean setup into the next turn, and without precise speed control, that often leads to a restart. And finally, the most unusual solution. This corner doesn't have a gutter, instead just a curve. While it looks icy, this is a different material from the regular tarmac, and it provides a surprising amount of grip, especially when combined with good speed control. Right now, the first strategy is the fastest, but that doesn't necessarily make it the best. After this section, it's almost a straight shot to the finish without any real obstacles. Just a tarmac and a small corner that is easily cleared. Full speed till the end. Over the 12 months this rally mode has been around, times have been pushed down heavily. As of now, the world record stands at 1 minute and 50.1 seconds, set by WW Martin. And while most players agreed that sub 50 was possible, actually getting there would require near perfect lines and flawless gutter usage. And then it happened. While I was working on this video, Scamp decided to give this fun rally a try and pushed the record even further. It now sits at 1 minute and 46 seconds, with top 46 being, in his own words, totally doable. This run stands out not because of its crazy good time or some unusual skip that was missed in plain sight, but actually due to how clean it is. Compared to the previous world records, there is almost no hesitation. Every hairpin is taken with confidence. Gutters are used only where they actually save time, and most importantly, the ice section is far more controlled. Scamp managed to master the ice and clear this entire section even faster than what was thought possible. This includes introducing a new strategy in the last corner, a wall ride. This trick was used in real life once, but it has one big obvious downside: car damage that needs to be repaired. In BeamNG, however, it doesn't matter. By implementing the strategy of going on the curb in the last corner, Scamp managed to get a near-perfect lineup into the curve and cross the corner at full speed. While it might look a bit slower compared to the cut-through off-road, it doesn't matter. Higher exit speed means that the next nearly straight half a kilometer can be cleared much faster. However, one question remains unanswered. Where does Scamp get that insane lead of more than 3 seconds? The answer can be easily found by comparing both runs. Funnily enough, up until the middle of the tarmac section, both Scamp and WW Marty were nearly neck and neck. But from that point on, things started to change. Scamp's lines through the later hairpins are simply better, and little by little he begins to pull ahead. By the time they reach the ice, that gap has already grown to more than 2 seconds. But once we look at the ice section, it becomes clear where even more time was saved. Better gutter entry, cleaner exits, more control, and finally the wall ride. At the end, Scamp crossed the finish line with time of 1 minute and 46.853 seconds. And that's how special stage Clyde Peak was obliterated. Not by Jade, nor by skips, but by pure skill and dedication. A true challenge for those who seeks it, where every hairpin, every gutter, and even the very final corner require deep understanding of real-life rally and driving as a whole. No one knows how much faster the next run will be. But one thing is certain: this stage will keep challenging runners for a long time. A stage where every millisecond feels hard earned. Thank you for watching. This video took a lot of time to research, so if you enjoyed it, leave a like or comment. Every interaction helps more people to discover the incredible world of BeamNG speedrunning. And of course, if you love rally, go check out the stage yourself. You won't regret it. I am Molten Mayhem, and I'll see you next time.